Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Friday, October the 25th. This year is just flying by. Tonight, we're going to be checking with our good friend George Rodriguez down in South Texas. George, it's always great to see you. You and your great backdrop there. What a great picture. You're going to have to teach me how to put one of those backdrops behind my photo here or behind my face. But we'll do that the next time you come to Dallas. You can come over by the house, have dinner with us, and show me how to do it on the computer. How's that? Is that a deal?
That's a deal.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about Texas tonight, focus on the Texas election, not just President Trump and Vice President Harris, but Senator Cruz and Congressman Allred. And then we want to get into some of the state races, primarily the Texas legislature, and then the impact of school choice on the campaign. We know that it was a big deal in the primary. How much of it will carry over to the election? That's what we'll be talking about. But I want to begin with a little memory here. Fernando Valenzuela passed away this week. He wasn't quite 64. I think he was 63. And I mean, look, I remember I happened to be living in Mexico City in 1981, the year of Fernando Mania. And if you think it was Fernando Mania up here, imagine down there.
Yeah, I can.
It was he became a national hero. Great pitcher. And ironically, this World Series between the Yankees and the Dodgers, the last time these two teams played, he was a member of the winning Dodgers, winning Game 3. So anyway, just a lot of memories. I found him to be a fun pitcher to watch. On TV is where I got to see him. But he was a workhorse. I mean, the guy just threw a lot of innings. I mean, he was a complete game kind of guy. Give me the ball, I'll finish the game kind of attitude, which I really think is missing from the game today because they got so much technology and so much pitch counts and all of that, which I hate, frankly. I used to love the time when the pitchers would go out there and give me the ball, I'll finish. I used to love that, George.
I think it's a situation also where a lot of the players are, I don't want to say prima donnas necessarily, but they want to take care of their bodies and last as long as they can. And so therefore they will do the most they can, but with the least amount of effort. And it makes a difference from somebody like a workhorse, like you described him.
Well, what's interesting to me, what I really miss is the days when you would go out to the stadium and watch a pitcher go 9 and win the game.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to root for the pitcher in the 9th inning. That to me was a lot of fun. I miss that. And I don't know if that'll ever come back, but I really enjoyed it when I had a chance to enjoy it. I mean, it was just great. And Valenzuela was of that generation. Maybe some of the last few pitchers who did that, because it all began to change in the 90s. Yeah. And that's when he had already left the game. So Fernando Valenzuela, who was born, I believe, in Los Mochis, Mexico, and obviously was quite a star in LA, and they honored him tonight in the first game of the World Series. And the Yankees are going to win in 7. George, what are you betting?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you because I think the Yankees definitely have a better pitching rotation, and they've got the hitters.
Yep. And they have quite a bullpen. They have a very deep bullpen. So yeah, I agree. I think I'm going with the 7. Although there is a tendency, and I don't know if this happens to you, but there is a tendency. Now, you probably, because you follow the Astros, you follow the National League more. But when you live in an American League city, like I've always lived in an American League city, you know the American League team in the World Series better than the National League team. So maybe my bias toward the American League comes a little bit from that. But there's no question the Yankees are really tough. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about politics, and I want to focus on Texas and pick your brain a little bit. Former President Trump and Vice President Harris were in Texas today. George, you have been around a lot longer than me, in Texas, that is. I think that's the first time I ever recall the two candidates being in Texas the same day. I don't
At the same
recall
time.
any.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Same
memory
day at
of
the
any?
same time. Yeah. No, I don't recall that ever happening. No,
Yeah.
this is new. It shows the competitiveness of this of this race. Although there is really, to me, there's no real competitiveness in Texas. I think the mainstream media and Kamala and her team are definitely trying to make it seem like there is a some type of competitiveness, like so they have a chance to win, but I don't see it. I just don't see it. I think that if anything, um, her visit will make people more adamant about voting against her. One of the things that I've got to mention, though, is that she came to speak specifically about abortion, an issue that is really, really not that big of a deal to a lot of to, in my opinion, a majority of Texans. She came to speak about that, and she gave a really, really poor example of how important abortions are, or open abortions are, for folks. She talked about some woman in Georgia that apparently had complications and passed away because she did not get an abortion. Now, that's what she'd like to say. The reality is that the woman had other complications uh, from just her general health, not from the abortion. The
Right.
other thing that really, really gets to me is that while she's talking about one death related to an abortion, she doesn't say anything about the fentanyl deaths, the thousands of fentanyl deaths that have been caused since she and Biden have been in office and the border has been open.
Right,
That is
and
really
you're right. And these young ladies who were killed
by
by the illegal immigrants. So I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think her. But one thing, and this example of the young woman in Georgia that she brought up, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe she was the victim of having taken the abortion pill. I think it was the abortion pill
I think there
that
were
he,
other yeah, there were some
uh,
complications that she
yeah,
does not mention. She makes it sound like her not getting an abortion, an immediate abortion, was the
right.
problem. I think there were many more problems. From what I understand, the reality is, the truth is that there were many other issues
Right.
that surrounded that situation.
Well, and here's the thing, and she's getting away with this partly because she doesn't take questions. But you know, first of all, abortion is legal in every one of the states right now. You can have an abortion in every single state.
Correct.
There are exceptions for rape and incest, I believe, in every state. If you have a medical problem like this young woman had, and your doctor says you have to have an abortion, you're going to get it,
Yeah.
no matter where you are.
I,
In fact, I read here, George, recently that just in Texas alone, last year there were 50 women who got abortions through the medical, I think they call it the medical exception,
correct.
where you have a doctor says you have to have an abortion, and if he says yes, the doctor says yes, then you can get
That's
one.
it. That's
There's no, but the incident that Colin Allred keeps bringing up in his television ads is the lady who couldn't get a letter like that from a doctor. No doctor told her you have to have an abortion to save your
because she
life.
wanted to have one. Period. That was
She wanted to have one. She decided
she
she
decided.
she decided that an abortion was what she needed. No doctor said that. So she decided I want an abortion, and
It's
then
very disingenuous. Very
it
disingenuous.
is extremely, and I think they get away with it
Well,
because
yeah.
they don't take questions. That's the
There's
reason.
no challenge from the news media. There is no
That's it.
challenge from the news
That's
media.
it. And you're right. Well, that's the reason. I mean, they at the same time, in all fairness to the news media, they're not answering questions either. So it's one of those things where I think if she were to do a press conference and open it up the way Trump does, I think that there would be a reporter who would
There would
ask
be a
that
meltdown.
question. Yeah, well, that true. But there would be a reporter who would ask that question. I just know that there would have been. There would be a reporter, but she obviously doesn't want to get exposed to that. But okay, let's talk about. I agree with you. I've seen numbers with respect to President Trump. 6 to 10 is what I've seen. I saw a study today by this fellow who does these videos. He's kind of a numbers, one of these numbers freaks. And he says it could be double digits in Texas. He senses the enthusiasm and the turnout and the early turnout, but he feels it will be over 10. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to stick to.
And things are getting worse. In my opinion, they are not, the Democrats are not gaining ground. They're losing ground. Mm-hmm. The race between Allred and Ted Cruz, while Ted is worried about it, while he is concerned, while he is making a big deal that, it's tight. In reality, it's not. It's not that tight. It's, at least 5 points.
Well, I predicted 52-47, at the beginning of the year. We did one of these shows. I predicted 52-47. If Trump goes over 10 points, and I think it could be better than that.
It probably
would be better than that. But I think
I don't see what they've got to run on.
Well, I don't either. And now tell me, the early voting, again, early voting is kind of hard to decipher. But I'm hearing from people that the early voting has benefited Republicans.
Correct.
Here in Texas, when I voted on Tuesday, and there wasn't much of a line, but I voted at 3:00 in the afternoon, so I beat the big rush. They told me that there had been a big rush at lunchtime. There had been a big rush when they opened at 8:00, and they were expecting a huge rush at 5:00. So I just happened to find the window of time when there was nobody there, and I went in fairly easily and voted, maybe 10 people ahead of me, but it was very easy to get in. But the reports that I'm getting, and this is public reports, is that the turnout in places like Tarrant County or the Fort Worth area, Denton County, more Republican areas, has been very heavy, but also in Dallas. So what are you hearing? Not just in San Antonio, but in the whole state. But what are you?
Well, not only in the whole state. I saw an exit poll in the 6 swing states or 7 swing states. I'm not sure if it's 6 or 7, but an exit poll in those states.
Forgive me for interrupting you. You're talking about an exit poll of people who voted early?
Who voted early.
Oh, I had never heard of that before. That's a great idea, by the way. I had never heard of that before.
In those 7 states.
And what did it say?
All of them were favoring Trump. All of them. Yeah. And they were favoring Trump by as little as a 0.2 difference or as high as a 2.5 difference. So
that's interesting. I had never heard
that there's, it's going to be tough for the Democrats to overcome.
Right. And she's not helping them.
No, she's not.
I mean, she's not being a very good candidate. I mean, on the contrary, it seems like every time she answers questions, which leads me to another point, George, as to why she's in Texas. My theory is that she's in Texas because they don't want her in these swing states because she's not helping them up there. So they bring her down here to Texas to talk about abortion.
I hadn't thought of that.
No, but they bring her down. I mean, why would you bring? I mean, if you just step back for a second, we know why Trump came, because of the Rogan interview. Now, maybe he didn't have to come to Texas. Maybe they could have done it somewhere else. But that's where he records, I guess, the studio in Austin. But so I kind of understand why he came. But why she would make a big deal about a concert, really, that's what apparently they're having. Why would she make a big deal out of that?
Well,
to talk about abortion when she would be better served in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin.
That makes sense.
I don't know. I heard somebody say that. It's not my original idea.
Well, and it does make sense to a certain extent. I mean, we are seeing in Ohio, for example, the Democrat senator is running away from her.
Right.
Has refused to be seen with her. Colin Allred, I'm not sure how close he is embracing her here in Texas, but yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know why she came other than to champion abortion, and she's not going to take any questions. She's just going to be a talking head. I don't know. I mean, I am completely baffled how they let her get away with the things that they let her get away with.
Right.
She was talking about again, who was it? Oh gosh, on CNN, the
Anderson Cooper.
Anderson
When
Cooper,
they
I
had
thought
that city.
did a very good job of asking her questions.
Yeah.
One of them
Sure.
being, why, the time that you were vice president, why didn't you say something at that point about the condition of Biden? And she does this word salad about Biden being an excellent president and being super smart and all this sort of stuff. But the fact of the matter is that she is the first candidate in American history that is running for presidency without being nominated,
Right.
without actually being nominated.
Or going through the primary process, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. And you can see the weakness of a candidate who hasn't gone through the primary.
Exactly.
Because she's not tested. I mean,
it's Marxism. It's Marxism in any way.
Whatever. Yeah, but whatever it is, she's not tested. She hasn't been tested. One of the benefits of a primary is, whatever
you weed out the weak.
Well, you also, you have to fight the other people because you're going to get a lot of questions, and you become a better candidate. For example, I think Obama became a better candidate after that primary with Hillary Clinton, where they went back and forth pretty long. Remember, that was a long one. That went into like July before it was decided, and it wasn't decided by much. And I think he became a better candidate. When he started out, he was almost like very soft, but he got a little tougher as he went along. I mean, so I think the absence of a primary, the absence of having to explain her positions for months, I think has caught up with her. She is, George, she reminds me of a person who memorizes the answers for the exam, and she's got the answer. She's got the answer up here.
But it's not the right exam.
Either that or she cannot handle the follow-up question.
Exactly.
So it's almost like, she goes to the exam and they give her the, they ask the question, what is the biggest city in Texas? Well, the biggest city in Texas is Houston. And what's the second biggest city in Texas? Boom. Well, I was born in a middle-class family. She just cannot handle the follow-up. And I'm using a silly example, but you know what I mean. She just cannot handle the follow-up. And I think it really shows.
It has shown that. I mean, you have seen that repeatedly in her so-called press conferences or town halls.
Now, let me ask you about the congressional districts, the federal elections. We have 38 congressional districts. I'm guessing most of the incumbents are going back, but you've got a couple of interesting ones down there in South Texas with Mayra Flores and Vicente Gonzalez, and then Monica de la Cruz, and then of course our friend, our friend
with Cuellar.
With Cuellar, yeah. So those three, unless you can think of any others, but those three are the ones where there could be a late night. So what are you hearing about those three? Pick whatever one you want.
Definitely. All three of them are going to be tight. All three of them. Cuellar is very, very worried. He has.
Now that would be a flip.
That would be
Cuellar would be a flip. Yeah. Okay.
He is hemorrhaging support. He has done poorly. He has not presented himself very, very well. In fact, to a large extent, he has not been out in public to hold meetings.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
So it's not looking, he's not looking good. And on the contrary, Furman has been all over the place, knocking on doors, having rallies, et cetera, and he's looking very photogenic. So there's that.
Now, so you would say, I know it's tough to predict these, but if you were betting me a cup of coffee, you would say that Furman has a good shot at that one?
Yes. Yeah. I think he's got a good shot. I think it's
so that's a flip. Okay. So that would be a plus one Republican.
Vicente Fernandez is also in trouble.
Okay. Now let's go to. Okay. Now that would be Mayra Flores, who wants her seat back, I guess.
Right. He's in trouble.
Who ran? He's in trouble. And what are the issues with him?
Well, he there was a scandal with him being caught lobbying for a Chinese bank and being part owner of the Chinese bank. And he has desperately tried to sweep it under the rug. But thanks to a lot of citizen journalists, it's popped back up. And then, of course, you've got the border. You've got the border issue.
Yeah, I think getting Democrat on the border, I mean, that's a lot of baggage.
Vulnerable,
and I'm sure that Kamala Harris is not campaigning in this district.
No.
Yeah.
Kamala, they have stayed extremely away from Kamala and from Biden. Yeah. No,
something else too, George, you mentioned that. We'll get to Monica de la Cruz in a second, but I don't see Democrats helping each other that much.
No.
In campaign. For example, Colin Allred, who's running for the Senate, is he campaigning with anybody? I don't see him campaining.
Well, I cannot see him. I can't see him asking somebody like Congresswoman Crockett to get on board. I mean, that would sink his ship.
Right. So he seems to be suffering from both. Either he doesn't want to be close to the radicals, and he cannot get close to the Republicans. So it seems like he's running a one-man show. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any. I mean, he doesn't even say he's a Democrat in his commercials. Have you noticed that? No. He hasn't said, "Hey, I'm proud of President Biden," or whatever.
That says a lot about the condition of their party.
Absolutely. Now, the other one is Monica de la Cruz. Now, she's the one who won that special district that was created.
And then lost it, yeah.
Right. So how does she look?
She is looking very, very good as well. The individual that's running against her, and it's evident by the way that we're blanking out on it, we can't remember who she's running against. And she is, again, one of the telltale indicators that you see in both Furman and Monica's district, which are right next door to each other. Mm-hmm. Huge number of Trump trains every weekend. Huge number of Trump trains. And, since they're both sitting on the border, I think that the three of them have a very good chance of sitting in Washington soon.
Right. Now, again, that's on the border, where I would think the border issue has got to be top of the list. Now, so let's look at the 38 districts, congressional districts. I'm going to say that most of the incumbents are going back, perhaps with the exception of Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez. Is there anybody else that
I can't think of anybody else.
I mean, nobody in our area up here. Nope. There's not a single incumbent up here.
I can't think of anyone that's in trouble.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, think so all the incumbents are going back, which is, when they drew up these districts a couple of years ago, I think that was the intent to protect the incumbents. Yeah. I mean, and they've done a very good job of that. So all the incumbents are going back. Now, what about some of the state reps? Are you hearing any major things?
There is one here in San Antonio, Lujan, who is a Republican. He's facing a very strong challenge from a radical funded by New York, Ocasio-Cortez and company. Again, the issue that they're screaming about is abortion. That he was pro-abortion. He's a very, very good Christian representative, has a very strong religious background. He is the incumbent. He has served the district as the first Republican in 150 years.
Wasn't he the one who switched parties, George?
No, that's another one. There's another one. That's another one down south.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to remember his name.
Yeah, but Lujan was always a Republican.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. And then this gentleman that you're talking about, and I'm trying to remember his name.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the one who switched parties and had a lot to do with abortion, I think, when he switched parties.
And he's pro-life and very, very strong on border enforcement. Right. And I don't think he's not leaving. He's going to stay. Okay. I think that if anything, the state house is going to remain how it is. If not, there will be two gains for the Republicans
So
in the Houston area. But
okay,
outside of that,
okay. So that won't change much. Maybe a couple of gains, and then the last thing I wanted to bring up was school choice or vouchers. That was, of course, a big issue in the primaries. So you now have a bunch of Republicans who are committed to vouchers if they win, and most of them are going to win. I think they all of them, most of those primaries were in pretty safe Republican
what's
districts
interesting
anyway.
here in San
Yeah.
Antonio, Silvio, is that there's a small contingency of Republicans who are antagonistic towards the new Republicans that are coming in that are pro voucher. A small group of them who are, well, I'm not sure if they're bought by the school district, by the school unions, or they are just afraid of the impact on public schools. I'm not sure what's going on, but it's really sad that the small group of individuals are actually lobbying against um, uh, Republicans that have an absolute sure chance of winning.
Now, the vouchers, though, I think he's got the numbers. The governor has the numbers to make it happen. I mean, he's got the Senate. The state Senate has already voted for it. It was in the House where it became a problem. But I do believe, George, correct me if I'm wrong, that he's got the numbers to make it happen.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Yes,
So
he
I
does.
think that'll happen.
I
So
think this battle with these the small contingent of Republicans, I think that's more a very personal situation.
it very well be. But I would hope all of those
Bad
Republicans.
blood.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but I just hope all of those Republicans, what happens when you mess with Abbott on a major issue, that he will primary you out of office, which is what he did with about 10 members of the House. But I think overall, George, if you look at just sort of, the overall sentiment here in Texas is that Texas will continue to be pretty much the same way.
It will continue to be red.
We will return most of the incumbents. Most of the incumbents will win in the state house. The state senators, I know mine is running, Parker, and he should win for the state senate. So, I don't think there's going to be any major change.
It's going to show again that the Democrats poured in a ton of money into the state
and fell short. And of course, in the case of Senator Cruz, we know why they're going after him, because they're going to lose West Virginia, they're going to lose Montana, so that makes it 51 right there. I mean, that alone gives a Republican a majority. Moreno in Ohio looks really good, so that would give the Republicans 52. So the only chance that they have is to keep Ohio, meaning the Democrats, keep Ohio, defeat Cruz, keep it 50-50, and hope they win the presidency.
And it's impossible for them to beat Cruz. I'm sorry, it really is.
I agree with you. But I think Cruz is going to answer a question this year, George, and we'll talk about this after the elections, because the first time he ran, I checked it out. He won by 17 points. He won in a presidential election year with Romney at the top of the ticket. Romney won Texas by 16 or 17 points. The next time he ran in 2018, it was a midterm. Midterms are always bad for the incumbent president. And he was targeted like crazy that year with Beto O'Rourke, and he won by 3 points. And now we're going to find out if he is closer to 3 or closer to 17. We're going to find out where he really is in the winning margin category. Is he going to be a single-digit Republican, or is he going to be a double-digit Republican? We're going to find out, George.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Although
it will be.
I know the guy personally. We've been friends since he first became senator. I certainly hope that it's a double digit, but even if it's not, I think it's going to be much more than.
Yeah. Well, again, 52-47 was the worst case scenario that I predicted, but I think it could be a few more, particularly if Trump has a big day. Well, thank you so much, as always, for your time. What a treat that is to chat with you. and to get your update.
My pleasure.
We'll get together after the election and see how smart we are.
Yes.
I have a feeling that you will be very smart, that all your predictions will come true. I'm betting
sure
on
hope
that.
so.
I'm betting on that. Have a great night, George, and thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Our good friend George Rodriguez. There you go. Let me touch a button here. Our good friend George Rodriguez from South Texas. We recapped a little bit tonight the state of the elections in Texas, and as we heard from George, who's pretty well connected, has a good sense of what's going on. He thinks that President Trump will do well. I do too. The more conservative polls have him between 6 and 10. I've seen a poll today that over 10 points, double digit. I need to see more polls to believe that, but I saw one today. With Cruz, he's around 5. I've seen polls as high as 7 and 6. But again, it's going to be tougher for Cruz. But I do believe it'll be 52-47, worst case scenario for him. You look at the other elections, whether it's the congressional districts or the House districts, the state House districts or the state Senate, it looks like most of the incumbents are going back. Now, I thought it was very interesting that George pointed out that Henry Cuellar in South Texas may not be going back. That would be a huge defeat for the Democrats in more ways than one, not just because they lose a member, but because he is a pro-life Democrat, a centrist Democrat, exactly the kinds of Democrats that the party desperately needs if it wants to rebuild its image with the American people. So, but apparently he's gone from what George is suggesting. Well, thank you for your time. Enjoy your weekend. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.